Perfect timing, right, Willow? My name is Robert, aka Bob Ventimiglia. I enlisted in the Navy Seabee Reserves in 2 days after turning 17 in 1963. Chose the Seabees because I needed to get it back up to running out of money for college. The Seabee attitude was, the difficult will finish today, the impossible takes a day or two longer. And that attitude stuck with me. I wouldn't accept no or can't be done as an answer. I didn't expect to go to war. There was, as far as I knew at the time, there was no battles going on. Little did I know the Seabees were involved in Vietnam since 1958. When I got out of school, I got orders to deploy to Vietnam, and so in September 1965, I arrived at what became Camp Adner in Da Nang East. He was the first guy in our battalion to die, and so they named the base camp after him. In October 28, 68, what became the NSA hospital, which we knew was China Beach Hospital, was overrun and partially destroyed. Our base camp came under actually the first assault as a battalion since World War II. We had ground, mortar, and machine gun assault, where Adner died and a fellow by the name of Haskins passed away. And but we got the job done. It was intriguing because we had one of the only brain surgeons in Vietnam, so we used to get a lot of head wounds coming in, and we'd get the choppers would be landing, and if anybody was working in the area, we'd help unload the choppers. Brings back memories. The one that I always see is the one guy who helped take out the chopper was back of his head blown off, and you could see parts of his brain, and apparently the surgeon just kind of scooped everything back together, sewed him up, and the guy was pretty much fine. Another guy came in that had some shrapnel, and they removed the shrapnel from his brain, and he was paralyzed from the neck down. So it's just saying, holy crap, you don't know what the hell's going on. That's a thought that stayed with me for so many years, and you kind of suppressed it for a bit. So I separated in April of '67, went back to my reserve battalion, got accepted to New York University while I was overseas, taking advantage of the free postal service. I applied to a number of colleges and got accepted to the New York University School of Aeronautics and Aeronautics and Astronautics. And I continued in the reserves until I cursed out a chief petty officer. I was the only experienced electrician we had, and we were wiring up some hangars that had been unused for 20 years down at Floyd Bennett Field. And I had an agreement with the commanding officer to do my homework on Sundays, and because we were only working weekends. And so I was sitting in the line truck this one Sunday afternoon, and this chief came up to me and gave a ration of stuff, and I cursed him out, and he went apoplectic and said, "You're on report." And I said, "No, I'm not. I'm a civilian." And I walked into the adjutant's office and said goodbye and never went back. And then I had to figure out what the hell am I going to do for money. So I became a waiter at catering halls. I got home early relative to all the stuff that was going on. I got home in April of '67. I was in a neighborhood that still supported, that we didn't have any resistance going on, I would say. And plus it's like even though I get into my local bar, even though I was under 21, they'd buy me drinks. And I did sign up with the VFW back then and get cheap booze. And I was, at the time I was drinking heavily, didn't realize I was self-medicating. And I was working installing burglar alarms, and I was going back to school, and realized I had to get my act together. So I moved out of my neighborhood because we were doing too much drinking, doing some drugs, and moved off campus in an apartment and kind of got sobered up and concentrated on my studies. So but I didn't get any of the negativity that a lot of Vietnam veterans had when they first got back. And being in the aeronautics department in a campus of New York University up in the Bronx, which is now Bronx Community College, we had a whole bunch of engineers, some of which were in ROTC. So we weren't in the antagonistic environment of the liberal arts courses. So I was kind of protected, but I got involved with campus politics, and I became their one of their Vietnam vet friends to some specs. But I calmed people down when they started talking about killing babies and bullshit, and never saw that, never experienced it, but I wouldn't tolerate somebody saying it. But after it became a real mixed bag after the Kent State, I guess that was in '68, and I realized we had to get the hell out of there. I didn't like the rules of engagement sucked when I was there, and it probably got even worse. And I couldn't understand why we were continuing not to fight the battles the right way, especially after the way the country reacted and in the Kent State killings that we had. I had to do whatever I could to try and get our guys home. So I did start protesting against it. It was with mixed emotions. But I would not tolerate anybody saying anything negative about our veterans. So they knew to stay away from me. Any sit down we were involved with, they were far away from me because they were going to get decked. I got known on campus. I did express a lot of anger at various times, and I've been known to knock windows out of screen doors and put a sledgehammer through a wall one time. But I didn't hurt anybody, so I wasn't as bad off as other guys, and I stayed sober for the most part. And so I was able to unknowingly manage things. So I was competing in the Austin Runners Club Distance Challenge, which is, and I was doing the full challenge. When I had to downgrade the full to a half, they did agree to let me compete in the half challenge, so that and I'm competing in my age group. So I had to go to the expo to change my bib, and while I was there, and I had my service dog Baxter, I had a small Yorkie I used to carry around in a pouch. That he was a rescue. That he was recognizing my PTSD symptoms, and so I trained him to be a service dog, and he was always with me. And I got my new bib, and I wandering around looking at all the freebie stuff, and I see this table that said Team RWB, and they had water bottles. You know, hey, I'm not going to pass up a free water bottle, because being a slow runner, one of the hardest things to run a marathon as a slow runner is what do you do about nutrition and hydration when you're going to be out there 6 hours? So I picked up the water bottle and talking to Christina, who was the chapter captain at the time, and she dropped the bomb on me, and she said, you know, we're supporting veterans, and I said, yeah, I'm a non-veteran, blah, blah, blah. And she said, well, we don't leave anybody behind. And I said, yeah, bullshit. Every running group in Austin had left me behind because I was slow. And I said, I'll try you guys. But we'd be running from the rock down at Lady Bird Lake, and I go show up there, and at the time we were probably getting anywhere from 10 to 25 people showing up for the RWB walk runs on Sunday mornings. And sure enough, every time I showed up, somebody'd stay with me. They'd stay with the slow guy. And I got to talking and meeting different people, and I fell in love with it. I mean, and I began to realize that talking with the other veterans that I was walking and running with, that they was, you know, had been in PTSD group therapy by that time for 3 years, and I was recognizing symptoms in the other folks, and would start talking them through getting help, and it was helping me, and that became an even stronger reason to stay with Team RWB. Team RWB was like being back in the service. We were all for one for all. Everybody would have a group hug at all the RWB meetings. You recognized everybody. We were all introduced. Every event started with introductions. Every event brought up the fact that Team RWB doesn't leave anybody behind. Just the way we did in the service. You don't leave anybody behind. Everybody supports everybody. So it was that cadre attitude again, that you're part of an identifiable group that gets you, that knows you, that understands what you've been through, and is willing to. Team RWB was always willing to work with us to get through the issues. It's helped me get through the struggles I had to deal with when severe sciatica kicked up, people were still willing to stick with me until I got my buddy Mike to start walking. He's a Purple Heart recipient and has had a screwed up back for many years, so he really couldn't run. So I started walking with him, and people were walking with me when I wasn't able to run, so they would be able to go off on their runs. And Mike fell in love with Team RWB and became a member as well. You got to keep moving forward. They paid the ultimate price, and so many veterans pay prices that civilians don't understand. And Team RWB helps us get through that. Satisfying commitments is important, and that keeps you going. And Mike and I laugh all the time because we talk about friends that don't, and they're no longer with us. It kind of feel weird to some people, I guess, when I say, I didn't know Adner, I didn't know Haskins, and Haskins was probably he got killed maybe 20 yards behind a bunker I was in when we had the ground assault. But I swore I would never forget them. And staying with Team RWB helps me not forget them. You got to keep moving forward. They paid the ultimate price, and so many veterans pay prices that civilians don't understand. And Team RWB helps us get through that.